Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I seem to have a frog in my throat this morning, so I might be clearing my throat a lot. But anyway, this is late February, and it's getting to be warmer, and my arthritic joints and bones are telling me it's okay for me to get out and have a little fun on my Rad Rover e-bike. So we're going to ride the e-bike to a little landing spot, or a takeoff spot, and where I used to take off and land from, near my old house in the HOA, and we'll take off from there with the with the Mini 2, and take a look at some construction that is getting started, and then we're going to end up the video by looking at some construction that is all finished up and looks really nice, and it's all done. So that's the plan, and I will tell you a story as we go along here, plus pointing out some things about why I'm making the video. Anyway, when I was in high school, if you watched the previous video, you know I graduated from a school that was brand new, and it had 3 wings of classrooms, and each wing had classrooms on both sides of the hallway, went from one end to the other, and there was a door at each end. And then they rotated the lunch hours, and so when the classes were in session, then my buddy and we'd monitor each end of the hallway and keep people from coming in and causing disturbances. And so I was on the hall patrol, little old short me, and my buddy was taller than me, but anyway, that's no big deal. Now, this place right here is interesting because you see how they plowed that dirt back? I made a mistake in a previous video. I thought they were they had yellow signs along here, like they were going to turn that property into a housing project. There was a public hearing. And so when they pulled all that dirt away, I thought that's so the guy can't irrigate anymore, because that's a little dike. Well, then they plugged it up again, and they put it back. And so then it happened again just recently, and I figured out that was the reason they pulled that dirt away, is so they can get tractors in there and mow the whatever they're growing. Excuse me. So they get the tractors in there, and then when they get through, then they pile that dirt back up, and so he can irrigate some more. Okay, so anyway, we'd monitor the hallway. So this one time, I don't remember the details, but leading up to it, but I heard somebody in the men's restroom while we were monitoring the hallway, and so I went in and I said, "Who's in here?" Because wasn't supposed to be anybody in there. And about that time, I heard the click of a cigarette lighter. Now that nice lady backed up so I could go on the sidewalk across in front of her, but she didn't know I was going to turn. So I waved and said thank you. Well, anyway, so where was I? So I said, I heard somebody in there. I said, who's in here? And of course, about that time, I heard that cigarette lighter, the flip-top cigarette lighter thing, and he was lighting a cigarette. And so I told him, you can't smoke in here, and I said, come on out. And so as he came out, I said, we're going to go to the office. Well, he was about twice as tall as me. So anyway, I started to go, and then he pushed me. He kicked. I was ahead of him, and so he kicked me in the behind, and I turned around, and then I grabbed him, and we got into this wrestling match. And I mean, we were just going at it in the men's room. And they had the urinals along the side of that went clear down to the floor. And so we were slipping around in there I was trying to get him to the office, and I was losing. In fact, the last thing that happened was my foot went into one of those urinals, and my leg got all pushed up against it and all wet and everything. And about that time, the coach walked in. The football coach walked in. And by the way, his name was Madden. I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but this was in the late 50s. So, by the way, the field you're looking at right there is going to be turned into a shopping mall, all the way across down through here. In fact, there's some construction going on down here at the right-hand end that you'll see. So anyway, So I'm losing the battle, and it just happens that God's so good that the coach came in, just came walking through the door, and he grabbed the guy and he told the guy, let's go to the office. And so now that's going to be a big car wash. They say it's going to be a big fancy car wash, and then there's also a coffee shop there, and Dairy Queen. So that none of that was there when we moved here, because we lived in this neighborhood. We moved here 4.5 years ago. So that's how it's growing. And in fact, that building right down there you're looking at, that wasn't here. So that's the future of this area right here. So anyway, he takes the guy and he goes and takes him to the office. And of course, I had this wet pants leg, so I had to walk up and down the hall to get my leg dry before the lunch hour got over. And I don't know when the coach got a chance to go to the bathroom, but anyway, so later on, by the way, that little school there, that's where my grandson Ryan goes to school, and actually his sister goes there too, but she's doing homeschooling via the internet. Now you're going to notice something here when I come to a stop. All that jello effect, I've had that happen before. I have an ND filter on attached to the gimbal of the Mini now, and that's really small, and so the filter snaps on, and if you bang it wrong, it gets loose. And so you'll notice there where I stopped. Well, then when you stop, the nose goes up, and then the gimbal has to point down, and that's when that thing was loose and it started jumping around. So here we're looking at where it's going to be you notice that arrow pointing at that manhole cover thing and that thing. This is going to be a parking lot. So what they're doing is they're burying these long tubes, and they have a hole at the end for like a manhole cover, but that's where the water is going to drain in when we have flash floods and heavy rains. And then it fills those tanks up, and then they have a slow leak system, and that lets it back into the ground, or underneath it. So anyway, so here we're going to go take a quicker look at it, or a closer look, because I was losing contact with my drone, and we couldn't see much from up there. But here's where this is what I was filming. And you can see there's one of those little, it's going to be a manhole cover, but it's going to be for a drain in the parking lot. So anyway, to finish the story, a couple years later, I was in college, and I was tutoring some of the football team guys. And one of the guys had graduated from my high school, and so it just, by coincidence, he had graduated from my high school, and he needed some help, and I was helping those guys. So anyway, he said, you know what? He says, you when he found out my name, he said, hey, the coach still talks about you. By the way, they're drilling a great big old hole for some reason. I don't know what, but anyway, that's a pretty heavy-duty drill. He said, the coach still talks about you. Oh, now look at this. They've covered up the tube with plastic, and the manhole covers at this end, as you could have seen from the air. One of those guys is putting dirt in, and the other guy is tamping it down. So we're going to come here, and we're going to anyway, to finish the story, the guy said, that coach still talks about you, how brave you were, and he uses that as an encouragement to make us to help us to do a better job of playing football. So anyway, this is the intersection right here that I have filmed a couple of times from the air, and there's an example. And it took them, it took them a little over a year to get that job done, because they had all kinds of issues, and it took them forever. Somebody made a mistake somewhere. So anyway, it's all finished up. Nice road, nice lines, and I guess I was an inspiration to somebody once upon a time in high school, as I was a hall monitor. I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.